If you're like me, you recognize that we live in a time where if you have conservative values or you're a believer and you dare to live out as one, you are vilified. You are set up for attack, if not physically, but every other way, as evidenced by some conservative voices who admittedly might be on the extreme end, but nonetheless have freedom of speech rights are being attacked on and shut down on social media. It's meant for you and I to be fearful of the future. Fear is meant to shut you down, but there's a cure to that fear, and you and I need to be able to tap into that, and that's courage. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Quam Teasy with the Christ to Christ and the Red Pill Reality. Shooting you another video here, talking about politics and society, and sometimes it'll be sports, things of that nature, from a Christian perspective when it has to do with those things. Believe it or not, as a believer, as a Christian, we are called to speak to those things that most affect those around us and infuse the kingdom mentality and bring the kingdom to earth, because the kingdom is inside of us. So we have to have opinions that line up with the word of God that can affect change. My last video was talking about how Christianity and Jesus and Christ is the only thing that can really cure racism, and I gave you an example of what happened in my life. You can check that video out. It's a pretty awesome story. I'm going to tell you another story tonight about courage and what courage can do. So when I was a kid, I grew up in half of my life as a kid in New York. As you can see, I rep the Giants all day, every day, till the day I die. Let's go Giants, go Eli. At the age of 12, we decided to move to Florida. Well, not we, my parents did. To move to Florida to get away from the hood, and they had an opportunity to move their family to a nicer neighborhood. So we moved to Florida, to an area in Florida. And I was 12. Now, just mind you, I was a little dude. I was, real small, real short, super skinny, big head, big feet. That was me. Anybody that went to school with me in 6th grade, 7th grade know that I'm telling the truth. And I was really short. And it was a culture shock for me. So where we moved to in Florida was kind of a newer development, city plot, and they had one McDonald's, they had Publix, and not a whole lot of stuff. They had one high school, one middle school, one elementary school when I first moved there. So I moved there. Where we moved to was kind of a nicer part of the city, and there was one other house on the block, and the rest of it was woods and deer and stuff. Now I'm coming from New York, where I've never seen animals. The animals that I saw were gang members. The animals that I saw were dudes in the street. Those kind of animals. And we even lived in the nice side of Brooklyn. 6th grade comes in, goes around, makes some friends. Crazy things happen. 7th grade. So between my 8th grade and 9th grade year, my mom decided to sign me and my sister, my older sister, up for this summer program where there was, it was kind of based on mock businesses, and there were other programs in other cities that would compete against each other each time we would meet. It was every day during the week. And we would go there and with several other students, right? And we would do our thing, and we would, this is before there was any kind of computers and all that. This is before computers were in classrooms, any of that. This is back in the mid to late 80s. The town that I lived in, the place I lived in, it was kind of separated. There was the part that was kind of new, where a whole bunch of different kinds of people lived, and then there was one part of town where mainly a lot of the black people lived, where some of the black people that's been there, where their family's been there for years and years, and they lived there. It was kind of like the hood of the area. And a lot of good people there, but a lot of rough people there, just as every hood is, right? And so some of the kids from that part of town were in this program with me and my sisters, about maybe 15, 20 kids, right? And so we're there, and we're chilling, doing our thing, and A couple of the kids are there that I don't really know of. There's one guy, there's two guys in, well, three guys in there that I didn't know were related. I don't remember their names, but we'll call one Willie, and we'll call one Bobo, and Jimmy. We'll call them, and they all came from that part of town where mostly all the black people came from that had been there for a long time. So they were there, and one of them took a liking to my sister, right? And obviously, my sister didn't have a liking towards him. So he proceeded to keep trying to push up on my sister. You know, now my sister's in 9th grade. I'm in 8th grade, going to 9th grade, right? So he keeps trying to push on her, keeps trying to talk to her. And I tell him, you know, like a young brother should, I go to him and I say, hey man, she doesn't want to talk to you. How about you just back off? And he was like,
screw you. I want to talk to her. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Forget the fact that my sister didn't like him at all, right? So it's every day this is happening and it's escalating, and I feel like I gotta do something because I'm a man, I'm a boy, I'm a brother. Although she's my older sister, I feel like I have to do something. So I tell him, look, dude, leave her alone, or else I'm going to talk to the teacher and tell her that you're harassing her, right? You know, that's what you do in a civilized situation. And he was like,
nah, I'm still going to do what I want to do.
Right. So he kept messing with her, and it was getting uncomfortable to the point of like he was beginning to try to push up on her like physically, right? So I go and I talk to the teacher and I tell her, hey, he's messing with my sister. It's going to escalate. Do something about it. So she, the next day, tries to do something about it. She talks to him and says, hey, listen. And now the dumb thing that she did was she did it in front of the whole class. Why she did that, I don't know. And she said to him, stop, you know, they don't want, if she does, people don't want the advancement, you know, then don't do it. And he took offense to it, got upset, started cussing with the teacher, and the teacher kicked him out of class, right? Kicked him out of the program. So obviously now the mentality, just think of this mentality. He didn't blame himself, he blamed me for getting him kicked out of the class, right? This is Willie, right? So Willie is maybe about an inch taller than me, but he's as skinny as me, little dude, right? But he's Mr. Big Mouth. His cousin Bobo was probably like 6'1", maybe. To me, he might as well have been 7'12", because he was huge, big old muscles, you know. And this dude was like supposed to be in 11th grade and hadn't even gotten out of 8th grade yet. So you know, Willie and Bobo was mad at me. Now Willie's kicked out, and the other brother, the other cousin, was still in the program too, right? So that day that he got kicked out, me and my sister, we walk out, and the guy that she actually liked was hanging out with us, and we walked out of the classroom and was waiting for my mom to come give us a ride. Now check this out. So they were mad at me. They come up and surround us three of them come up on their bikes and surround us. Boom, 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 right? And I'm there with my sister. Now I'm from New York. I've had my little scuffles in New York. I'm not scared of nobody, you know, like that. You know, I know how to pick my battles. So they surround us, bam, 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 right? And they're on their bikes. You know, Willie gets off of his bike, walks up to me, you know, saunters up to me, and says, and is mad at me because, you know, and now he didn't discuss anything, and I'm thinking in my head, we're gonna talk about what happened or whatever. So I'm prepared, right? He didn't talk about nothing. He just walks up to me and he goes,
you know what I think of you.
I don't care what you think of me. Always was like that.
This is what I think of you.
And he goes, he baby slapped me. Now, I'd rather get punched dead in the face than for you to disrespect me like that. So what I did was, I mean, that was disrespectful, right? And so my fist balled up, and New York was about to come out at me, and I was about to wallop, right? I was about to to him. But I looked, and I looked to my left and to my right, I saw that his cousins were on their bikes, like, ready to go. They were like little gremlins ready to go. If I would have thrown a punch, they would have jumped off and jumped me. And I thought to myself real quick, okay, my sister's standing right here, and my mom is about to pull up. If I get in a fight and I get jumped, we both getting hurt because these boys are huge, and we got big Sasquatch Bobo over here ready to fight. And remember, we're talking about courage here. So I let my hands go. I let that fear get out of me, and I said, that's all right, that's all right. And then my mom pulled up, didn't see him slap me. She just saw something going on. We got in the car and drove off, right? So that diffused it, right? I was mad, right? And so the next day, you know, nothing really happened. The guys kicked out of the program. So we but his cousin Bobo, the big one, was still there, was still in the program. And he was mad, right? Mad at me, little old Quam Teasy. They used to take us out on like outings or whatever. So I remember distinctly, we go out, the whole class, we go out and we're at the shopping mart somewhere. And in that shopping mart, there was a Blockbuster, just to show you how old this is. It was a Blockbuster. And we were in there just kind of killing time. And I was in there looking at some movies or whatever. Bobo comes over to me. Big Bobo comes over to me. And I'm like, uh-oh, what's happening? He bends down and whispers in my ear. And this is little old Quam. So what happened? Fear. Fear gripped me. Because I could take Willie. I could even take his other cousin. But Bobo? Bobo was big. Bobo was crazy. The day before that, he was so mad that his cousin got kicked out. I saw him literally rip a stop sign out of the ground because he was mad at me. Fear. I was afraid. And so we get back to the classroom, and I'm like, oh crap, what is finna happen? And these people are nuts, right? So the teacher comes, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm safe as long as the teacher's there, right? She's not gonna let nothing happen. She'll call cops, whatever. So we're sitting in the classroom. She leaves the classroom and leaves us in there by ourselves, and Bobo gets up and grabs a chair and is coming my way. He has a chair and he's coming my way, right? So he's coming over to me and he's like, yo, and he's about to throw this chair at me or whatever. And I get up and I'm gone. Fear gripped my heart. Out the door, gone. My sister runs after me. We're both out of the classroom. Don't know what to do. I'm outside. Right? So here's the good part. Somehow, now there were no cell phones. There was no way to, call like that. We found a phone in the school where it was, and we called my dad. Right? Now, mind you, my dad was working all the way about an hour and a half. It was during the workday. It was during the summer and the workday. He was working about an hour and a half away from where we were. And so we called him and he said, I told him what was happening. I guess he could hear the fear in my voice. My mom, she couldn't get there. She didn't have a car. So bet. They were like, we're going to get you at the end of the day. So somehow it ended up where they were out of the classroom and we were back in the classroom. I don't remember that detail. But the three of them, Willie, Bobo, and the other one, was not in the classroom, right? So at the end of the day, we're like, shoot, they're going to be waiting for us when we get out. And I don't know what's going to happen, right? So I walk out, because they could kick us out. We have to get out. It's the end of the day. I walk out, and just as I'm walking out, my pops pulls up, right? Now, just as I thought, Willie and Bobo and his cousin, they was all there, right? Outside on school property. So my dad gets out of the car. Now, check this out. My little brother, he's not little anymore, but my brother, who was 8, I think at the time, was in the car. He was even littler than me. My dad gets out. Now, it's my dad facing 3 dudes that were, basically had the bodies of grown men. And Bobo, who was the biggest, was like cussing at my dad, and I'm an innocent kid. I ain't never seen this before. I'm like, this kid is crazy. He's cussing at an adult. What the heck? And he was like, come on, you want to fight? Let's do this. Basically taunting my dad. And my dad was, to my surprise, because I was thinking, this is 1 on 3. Come on, Dad, let's get in the car. You got the car. Let's get out of here. My dad, on the other hand, was like, well, let's do it then. And my dad was cussing back at them. And I was like, I ain't never heard my dad cuss, but he was like, yo, that New York was coming out of him. And they was like, no, we on school property. We on school property. We can't do it on school property. And so my dad steps off of the school property into the street and says, I ain't on school property now. Let's do it. Come on, let's do it. Right? And so what I saw in that moment was courage in the face of insurmountable circumstances. right? My dad was going to defend his family, right? He was going to take up for his kids. And so I started to get some courage, right? I started to get, okay, well, this is about to happen. It's about to go down, and I can't let my dad do this alone. So we about to roll, right? And little to my knowledge, I looked over and I saw, and my 8-year-old brother was getting out the car to get ready to fight. My 8-year-old brother. What the crazy thing about this is that you don't understand that somebody else's courage, your courage in the face of adversity, can eradicate somebody else's fear. If you have fear in the face of what's going on in this climate, in this time, all you have to do is look at the people that's gone before you that are taking the hits, that are fighting, that are and gain some courage from them. Because God knows it's all hands on deck, especially a lot of us black people that have woken up to what's going on. Us Christians, us believers, we have to stick and stand with what is truth in the face of society that is telling you that you are evil for doing what is right. You have to have that courage. So my dad got out there, was like ready to take on all 3 of them dudes. I'm thinking, what the heck? So, like I said, we was all ready to go. So Bobo gets a piece of glass, like a glass bottle that I don't know where he found it from, grabbed it, just like the movies, and was like, let's go, right? Now, he must have been about 15 to 20 feet away from my dad. And so he had this broken glass, and I was like, oh, this just got real serious real quick. And I was like, I told my brother, get back in the car. He didn't get back in the car. And the 3 of us, my dad and his little boys, was going to go against, these crazy monster squirrel bat crazy guys from the hood. So he got his thing, and my dad said, oh yeah, I'm about to go get me an equalizer, right? So he walks over to the trunk of the car. Now, by the way, this was a blue Cadillac Sedan DeVille land yacht, right? And so he goes to the trunk of the car, and he's going to get, I think a crowbar or something to be the equalizer. Apparently, they thought that he was going to get a gun, so they said, oh, it's a gun. And they got on their bikes and took off running. Gone. Never heard anything from them ever since. Didn't even see them in school, nothing. I heard later on down the road that Willie and Bobo ended up in jail, and I don't know what happened to them. But the moral of the story is that the courage that my pops showed infused me with courage. And we're living in a time where the ideological Willie and Bobos, who have no sense, no logical sense, are attacking you and are attacking us and causing a fear to try to grip us. If you know the truth of the gospel, the truth of what God says, that Christianity and your faith in the Lord backs up conservative values, and it is what works. It's what works. And you have the right to speak your mind, and you have the duty to speak what is truth. Because it is the truth that sets people free. So that's just, my story. I know it went kind of long, but I hope you liked it. That's really what happened. I never heard anything else from them, but I always remember that story. It was crazy. Good old Willie and Bobo. I hope that today they're not in prison. I hope their lives are good and they're great, but it's sure scared me. But from there on, I was like, my dad was strong, and he didn't fear nothing, and it made me be strong. It made me be courageous. So we love you guys. Hope you like that story. If you like more personal stories of things that I've gone through that's happened, just let me know. I have a lot of them. God has allowed me to have a lot of crazy adventures in my life. But remember, you cannot allow fear to rule your heart. You have to be courageous. Because there's a lot of crap going on that should not be going on. And, who knows who's next. They're targeting conservative voices. I might be next. Whoever might be next, but we still have to be strong to speak the truth, because there are people out there that are waiting to be set free by the truth that you and I know. And it's not Democrat, it's not Republican, it is Christocratic knowledge, the knowledge of Jesus that we need to give to them, which affects politics and conservatism and all that good stuff. So love God, hate sin. Hey, like my video, if you like what we talk about, hit the like button, subscribe, smash that notifications button for me, please. Share these videos. We are almost to 1,000 subscribers. I thank you so much. I know this video went a little bit long, but I think that was a pretty cool story. So y'all let me know how you feel. Let's discuss it. And what does courage mean to you? How do you gain courage in the face of adversity? And I got a lot more coming for you. So remember, love God, hate sin, and we're not left, we're not right, but up.